Hello, friends. Welcome back. I'm here again with definitive proof that immortals walk among us. Stick around. Hello, friends. I am John, and I am the 3D 80s kid. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, young Fred Lindstrom was a big fan of the Chicago White Sox. He was devastated in 1919 when the Black Sox scandal occurred.
Joe! Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
And it turned out 3 years later, at the age of 16, he was given a tryout with the Cubs, which he didn't pass muster. So he eventually got a tryout with a scout for the New York Giants, who did sign the young 16-year-old to a minor league contract.
So young.
And at the tender age of 18, he came up to the big club to replace their injured third baseman. And he took off right away, was a big contributor, hitting .333 in the 1924 World Series against Walter Johnson and the Senators. And it turns out there was a critical play in the 12th inning of the 7th game where a ball hit to Lindstrom at third, took a bad hop over his head, which some people were claiming was an error on his part, but most of the teammates and opposing players said there was no way he could have fielded that ball.
It wasn't his fault at all.
But he did take some heat from the press. But young Fred Lindstrom was an immediate success in the major leagues, being one of the best third basemen right away. And then later in the 20s, the Giants actually formed an infield that consisted of first baseman Bill Terry, second base Rogers Hornsby, and shortstop Travis Jackson, along with Lindstrom at third. And they were dubbed the $1 million infield by one prominent author at the time.
$1 million is a lot of money.
And considered by most to be the greatest infield of that decade.
The greatest by far.
Of course, eventually, all four of those players ended up in the Hall of Fame, including Mr. Lindstrom, who unfortunately had a steep decline in his career due to back issues that started in his mid-20s, forcing him out of third base and moving him to the outfield, where he ended up playing center field because he had great speed, great contact hitter, basically pretty much a four-tool player, as he didn't really have too much power. But
Only one thing missing, huh?
If you look at Baseball Reference, his comparables, has some big names up there. At age 27, his most comparable is George Brett. At age 29, it lists Roberto Clemente. And what ended up being his final season in the big leagues due to those back issues at the young age of 30 was Pete Rose is listed as his comparable.
Great name!
So Fred Lindstrom had a very successful but short major league career. Some would say too short for the Hall of Fame, as when he was inducted by the Veterans Committee, it was the last of a group of players who were relatively controversial Hall of Fame selections due to the fact that most people saw them as kind of two guys colluding to get their buddies in the Hall of Fame. And that would be Bill Terry and Frank Frisch, who were on the Veterans Committee, were accused of colluding to put quite a few what most people would say would be Hall of Very Good players in the Hall of Fame. But nevertheless, Fred Lindstrom has been inducted in Cooperstown and is a Hall of Famer.
But why should he be?
And it turns out that I picked up one of his cards recently, and that would be this one right here, which is the 1929 cash-in publications. And they're a bit of an oversized card here, but really nice photography on these. They are a blank back. And, like most cards of the 20s, not a huge population on these, with this set averaging somewhere around 80 graded versions per player. So not a high quantity on this set. But so after retiring at the young age of 30, Mr. Lindstrom had a fairly good family life, with one of his sons, Charles, actually making the major leagues himself. And his story reportedly ends with his death in 1981, Or does it? So the first piece of evidence I uncovered in this mystery was this Helmar Brewing card. This is a modern set where this company is trying to recreate the look and feel of pre-war cards, making a highly limited number of them, with the old classic style of this one looking similar to a 33 Gaudi card. But if you take a look at this picture and let us compare it to right here, none other than Big Scott 35. And I thought to myself, maybe it's just the artwork. Maybe this isn't a match like I'm thinking. So I had to find myself an actual photo that took a good shot of Mr. Lindstrom, and let's take a look there. Once again, you see it, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, all the structure is matching. Obviously, Scott and myself aren't exactly in our plain days shape anymore, so there's a bit more fullness to the face, but it's undeniable. We have another spotting of an immortal walking among us, just as we had previously with Dave Blue Jacket 66 and Rick Vintage Oddball Cards. So I don't know what's going on here.
It's a conspiracy, man!
So everybody, if you stuck along for this, thanks for watching, and I will be careful, and I will see you next time.
See you next time.